Hey, what's up everybody? Daniel Seraph here. Today I'm going to share with you 5 important things that I wish that I knew back in the day when I first started playing guitar and becoming more interested in music theory on the guitar. Alright, so I've got 5 different things to share with you today, and make sure you stick around for the 5th one because I haven't seen anyone else teach this online. Alright, the number one thing that I think is important to realize is that music theory is a lot of times best when it's conceptualized and learned kind of away from the guitar. Now you might say, well wait Daniel, I'm a guitar player. Well, the important thing to realize about the guitar is it's incredibly complicated the way that the notes are laid out on the guitar neck. What I often tell my guitar students is that basically what we're doing when we play the 6-string electric or acoustic or whatever kind of guitar, we're essentially playing 6 different pianos. What do you mean 6 different pianos? What I mean is that from open to potentially maybe the 21st, 22nd, even occasional 24th fret guitar, you basically have this huge series of notes from our left as players to right? This one string, like the low E string right here, that's one piano's worth, right? So on my guitar, it's like playing a 23 key piano. And then overlapping that string, we've got the A string, another 23 key piano. So it's almost as if you were playing stacked keyboards, 6 of them, and they all kind of overlap and have similar notes on each string. So when you're first learning about music theory, it's really good to first conceptualize some of these ideas away from the guitar and then apply them to the guitar later. Now point number 2, I've read many theory books and seen people post online about, oh yeah, just learn and memorize the notes on the guitar neck. And they throw an entire guitar fretboard that has all the sharps, all the flats, and all the natural notes on the neck, just all on one diagram. What I can tell you about that is it just does not work. You might say, why doesn't it work? Isn't that the whole point? I need to memorize all the notes on the guitar neck? Well, yeah, you need to memorize notes on the guitar neck, but in music that we play, for the most part, it's not chromatic music, right? We play in different keys, right? So for the most part, you're either playing in a key that has natural notes, or natural notes plus sharps, or natural notes plus flats. So trying to learn all 12 different notes plus their end harmonics all at once makes no sense because we don't play music like that. So I have a whole video on this, but I'll briefly walk you through the best way to learn the notes on the guitar neck. The best way to learn the notes on the guitar neck is to take the 7 natural notes of the alphabet, that's right, 7, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And what you'll do is you'll practice them on each string, one string at a time. So for example, I would go to my thickest string, the E string, right? And I need to know the 7 letters of the alphabet and also know that they are not equally spaced, right? So B to C is a half step, that's 1 fret. E to F is a half step, that's 1 fret. The rest of them are a whole step, A to B, C to D, D to E, F to G, G back to A. Those are all whole steps which are 2 frets apart. So if I go to that E string, what I'll do is I'll play and say the notes. This is the first step in learning and memorizing the notes on the guitar neck. You'll say E, up a half step to F, G, A, B, C, D, up to E at the 12th fret. So if you're brand new to this, I recommend only going to the 12th fret, turning around and going back down. And make sure you always go back down, and also make sure you say these notes out loud. So E down a whole step to D, whole step to C, half to B, A, G, F, and E. Now I have a whole video on how to learn the guitar neck that I'll link in the description. Make sure you check that out if you're new to learning the notes on the guitar neck. I guarantee you that this is the best way to learn the notes on the neck. It's the simplest, it's the least overwhelming, and it's really effective. All right, let's jump into tip number 3. When I was growing up, I thought that you had to learn how to read music in order to learn music theory. You can learn music theory by just talking about letter names, understanding sharps, flats, those things, but they don't ever have to pertain to seeing those things on a staff. Now, I encourage my students to learn to read music if they're trying to go into playing professionally, especially if they're trying to go into things like musical theater or they're trying to play with orchestras or play in sessions where that's required. However, there are many times, like as a gigging guitarist like myself, where I go to sessions and we don't ever read a lick of music at all. Also on most gigs, top 40s gigs, gigs with bands, things like that, you don't actually have to read music. Now you have to have a great ear. That's a much more important skill for most gigging musicians. I've only met a few guitar players who are really excellent sight readers in my life. One of them played a ton in musical theater situations and lots of orchestra performances. He gets called and makes great money for doing that, so more power to him. And then another one is Paul Jackson Jr., who's a great reader, and he had to read a lot, like to play on like The Voice and things like that. Another amazing guitar player. I encourage people to read if you want, but realize you do not have to read in order order to understand music theory or to become a great guitar player. Reading is a great skill to have as a guitar player, but don't let it separate you from understanding more about music. You can learn tons about music theory just from learning about note names, letter names, sharps, flats, major scales, all your types of scales, how to build chords. And you don't ever have to read music in order to learn and understand that stuff. Hey, if you're digging the video, make sure to click that subscribe button. Make sure you stick around for number 5 because I haven't seen anybody else teach this online. Okay, tip number 4. Although guitar players play a lot of the pentatonic scale, it's one of those things that we gravitate towards because it's an amazing sound. I absolutely love it. I use it constantly. Although guitar players are really, very familiar with that sound and dig deeply into it, it is not the best scale to use to understand music theory. The head honcho of scales in regards to music theory is absolutely 100% the major scale. Now for guitar players, many of us complain that the major scale sounds kind of goofy when we first start using it to improvise and play. If you learn the inner workings of the major scale, you will sound fantastic. And also the reality is the pentatonic scales and many other great scales are subsets of the major scale. If you haven't dug into the major scale yet, I have a book that I've been working on. It's both a PDF book, like a downloadable ebook, and it's also gonna be a video course. I'm pre-selling it right now in this video, and I will do half off for anyone who jumps on board either the downloadable ebook or the ebook and video package. So the book is called Street Music Theory, and the whole point is to get people playing and understanding music theory in the absolute simplest way. I wish I knew these 4 rules of major scales when I was first learning scales. Now these are 4 rules that I made up in order to simplify music theory. Because I haven't seen anyone really talk about these 4 rules before, I'm gonna go ahead and include a PDF that you can download for free in the description. So let's dig into these. Rule number 1, you cannot have flats and sharps in the same key. So again, we're talking about major scales, but I wish somebody told me this a long time ago because all of a sudden it starts to put kind of all the correct notes together. The second rule is that all 7 letter names have to be present. So we need some kind of A, some kind of B, C, D, E, F, and G. So if you have a full major scale, you need one of each of those, some kind. So it has to either be a natural note version of that note, a sharped note version of that note, or a flatted note version of that note. But in order to have a full major scale and one of these major scales that makes sense, or what I call the logical major scales, then you need one of every letter name. So you need some kind of A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So rule number 3 is a little bit redundant, but I think it's important to say, and so I include it in the 4 rules. So you cannot have 2 types of the same note. Let's look at an example scale. Let's look at the key of F major or the scale F major. Quick little tip, key and scale mean the same thing. So if we're gonna start on F, and we're gonna go whole step up to G, whole step up to A. Next we need to go a half step, and what a lot of people would say is they would say that that next note is an A sharp. Well, the reason that doesn't work is you had F, you had G, and then you had A. You already used the A, so you can't include A again as an A sharp. So that note instead has to be called B flat. And then that scale just finishes out C, D, E back to F. So here's another quick example of that. Say we were in the key of G major. G, a whole step up to A, a whole step to B, a half step to C, a whole step to D, a whole step to E, a whole step, okay, a whole step after E, and we've got a G flat. Wait, we can't use G flat. Why? Because we already used G, right? So that note actually has to be an F sharp. And that leads me to the 4th rule that is very helpful and very effective. And that rule is the next note of the scale has always got to be the next letter of the alphabet, right? So if you're conceptualizing these scales and you're like saying, doing G major, right? G, A, B, C, D, E. What comes after E? Some type of F. It has to be some type of F. Now people frequently get confused, when they cycle back around, right? So just get comfortable when you're saying the letter names, it starts at A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and then it just starts again at A, right? So get really comfortable getting back to A from that G. Feel free to ask any questions down in the comments. I'll be happy to answer anything. And make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more guitar lessons.